Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Beer and Back Again. On our last episode, we visited Myrtle Meadow Hop Farms out in Pemberton, BC, where we saw how fresh hops are harvested, as well as collected a batch of our own to use in brewing. So here we are, back at Black Kettle Brewing Co. in North Vancouver, where we're sitting down with head brewer Sarah, where we're seeing how the hops are used, as well as the completed beer.
My name's Sarah Pokinghorn. I'm the head brewer at Black Kettle Brewing. I've been working in the beer industry for 8 years now. I started off in quality assurance, so doing the analyzing of beer, and then I went to beer school at Niagara College to become a brewer. I worked at Foamer's Folly Brewing for 3.5 years as quality assurance and brewer, where I honed my craft, and now I'm in charge at Black Kettle Brewing. Well, it all started when I got my first job doing quality assurance. I decided, the brewers really like this. I'm going to try home brewing. And that was a lot of fun. So I decided to follow that career path and applied to brewing school, that's where my passion really took off. Just all the different styles of beers and how you make them. And I got to go to Germany and learn some of the brewing techniques there. It was just also fascinating, and it gets to combine two of the things I love, having a creative job as well as a physical demanding job.
We went over to Myrtle Meadows Hop Farm and we saw how hops are grown, how they go from the vine to the pelletization to the brewer. So we saw both the pelletization side and the actual harvest side of fresh hops. Can you kind of elaborate what the main differences are between using the pellet versus the fresh hop in the beer?
So pelletized hops are basically a more concentrated version. You compress them down to get the most bang for your buck, and they stay good for several years once they've been processed. A fresh hop, you're just taking a whole hop right off the vine and putting it into a beer. So you get a lot more subtle flavors that way. So you'll still get we use Comet, so you'll still get your citrus and your grapefruit, but you have to put way more hops in to get the effect that you would for a pelletized hop. So we decided to make a fresh hop Comet IPA. So Comet is a high alpha acid hop, so we'll get lots of citrus and pine flavors from it. So I figured it'd pair well with an IPA, so I decided to kind of do a American hop and a British IPA, so we're using all Maris Otter, so it kind of gives a little more complexity to the base, some biscuits and cracker flavors, so it just brings it a little maltier and a little sweeter to pair with the grapefruit and citrus notes. IPAs are one of the most popular beers around right now. Probably right now, forever and always. That's not going to change. Everyone's doing North American hazy IPAs and pale ales right now, so let's just bring something a little different to the market, and it's kind of a more neutral grain flavor, so it'll bring out the fresh hop more.
I am off to invisible grounds. Don't know when to stop. Returning, it's not the way for me. Only a mile to go. Somewhere I belong. I'll see it clearer now. I'm learning the path as I go. Everybody knows it's spoken on the radio. There is a truth in the lies. I dare to leave you twice.
And so we ended up putting 15 kilograms of fresh hops in, while for pelletized hops, you would put in 5 kilograms for the amount. So hops add bitterness and flavor to the beer. So if you add them in early and boil them, typically at the 60-minute mark, that's where you get your bitterness from. So if you put a little bit of hops, you'll get a low IBU, IBU standing for International Bitterness Units. And so that's where your like lagers and some of the hazy IPAs are low and things like that. And then if you put a lot of hops in, you get high IBU. So that's where you get your strong IPAs. And then also if you add it in later in whirlpool or dry hopping, then you just get the flavors from it. So you can add pine notes and citrus and other hop flavors that escape my brain right now. So we'll be adding it at the 60-minute boil to create bitterness. We're aiming for around 40 IBUs, which is a little bitter, but not too bitter. And then we'll also be adding a whirlpool to give the citrus and pine aromas that we're going for. No dry hopping with the flowers because it is way too difficult to get them in and out of a tank. Fresh hops are really just a very seasonal thing. You make your beers, you get the flavors for a month or two, and then they kind of fade out faster, while your pelletized hops gives you more intense flavors that last longer. So you can have a regular IPA any time of the year, but you can only have a fresh hop beer for 2 months. All right, well, here's our final product, the Comet Fresh Hop. Let's give it a try. Now you get the citrus and the grapefruit to start. Not too intense. It's kind of a medium bitterness, around 30 IBUs. It's ended up being 6%, just what we were aiming for. And then you get a like malty finish on it, even with the light color that it has.
Good enough. Cheers, Sarah. Start to finish.
Yes. Beer and back again.
Yeah. You know, I know it's only like 10:30 in the morning, but it's still delicious.
Beer is delicious at all times of morning. I mean, we're starting late. It could be 6 a.m.
This is true.
That used to be the best and worst part of my job.
So now I need to do a cheesy exit
Oh.
because they're great.
Hop to it. You want to hop on out of here, Mac?
I don't need to do the exit. Thanks for joining us, folks. See you next time. Cheers.